Have you ever met someone and felt like your nervous system recognized them before your mind did? Not because everything was easy, not because it felt like a fairy tale, but because something in you became louder, softer, and more honest at the same time. A deep spiritual connection is often misunderstood as instant peace. In reality, it can feel unsettling. It can awaken longing, expose old wounds, and make you question patterns you have lived with for years. That is because some people do not just enter your life to comfort you. They enter it to reveal you. And sometimes, the strongest sign of a spiritual connection is not that they make you feel high. It is that they make you feel real. Most people think a deep spiritual connection is something mystical, romantic, or impossible to explain. But in real life, what makes a connection feel spiritual is often something very human. It reaches the parts of you that daily life cannot touch. It goes under your social mask, under your habits, under the version of yourself that knows how to smile, function, and say, "I'm fine," even when you are not. That is why the first sign of a deep spiritual connection is not butterflies. It is recognition. A strange, quiet feeling that says somehow, this person is meeting me in a place I thought no one could see. Sometimes it happens through words. Sometimes through silence. Sometimes through the unsettling experience of feeling emotionally understood before you have explained yourself fully. Psychologically, this matters because most people do not spend their lives being deeply seen. They spend their lives being evaluated. Were you good enough, useful enough, attractive enough, calm enough, successful enough, easy enough to love? So when someone connects with you beyond performance, it can feel almost sacred. Not because they are perfect, but because for a moment, you stop performing. And that can be terrifying. Because real connection does not just soothe you. It reveals you. It shows you where you are guarded, where you are hungry, where you are still carrying old pain. Maybe you notice how badly you want reassurance. Maybe you realize how often you people please to avoid rejection. Maybe you discover that when someone is kind to you, part of you relaxes, but another part becomes suspicious. This is how old attachment wounds begin speaking. If you have anxious attachment, a deep bond may make your fear of being left feel louder before it feels healed. If you lean avoidant, genuine closeness may make you want to pull away, not because the connection is wrong, but because intimacy touches places you learned to protect. If you grew up receiving love only when you were convenient, helpful, or quiet, then being valued for your real self may feel unfamiliar, even unsafe. This is why a deep spiritual connection often feels both peaceful and disruptive. It does not only give affection. It awakens truth. And truth can change everything. You begin noticing the difference between being desired and being understood. Between being chosen for your image and being loved in your emotional reality. Between chemistry that excites your wounds and connection that gently exposes them. That is the first real sign. This bond makes it harder to abandon yourself. Harder to pretend. Harder to keep living on autopilot. A powerful connection does not mean the other person completes you. It means their presence invites hidden parts of you to step into the light. Your grief. Your tenderness. Your fear. Your need for emotional validation. Your longing to be loved without having to earn it. Sometimes the soul-level feeling is not magic at all. Sometimes it is the shock of finally being real with someone else. The second layer of a deep spiritual connection appears in ordinary moments, not dramatic ones. It shows up in how your body reacts when their name appears on your phone. In how conversations with them linger in your mind longer than expected. In how they seem to trigger both your calm and your chaos. That contradiction confuses many people. They think, if this connection is deep, why does it stir so much inside me? But depth does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes it feels like being mirrored so clearly that you can no longer hide from yourself. One sign is that this person keeps activating patterns you thought you had already outgrown. Around them, your overthinking gets louder. You reread texts. You notice your fear of saying the wrong thing. You suddenly care too much, then try to act like you do not care at all. This does not always mean the connection is unhealthy. Sometimes it means the bond has reached a place where your old wounds still live. For example, Someone with a fear of abandonment may feel intensely drawn to a person who is honest and present, yet still panic when replies come late. A people pleaser may feel connected to someone who invites authenticity, but still find themselves shaping every word to stay likable. A person who learned to survive by being self-sufficient may feel a rare sense of safety, then immediately want to disappear the moment they start needing that person too much. That is because the nervous system does not respond to love based on logic. It responds based on memory. If closeness once came with criticism, inconsistency, or neglect, then even healthy intimacy can feel dangerous at first. You may call it confusion, but often it is your past fighting with your present. Another sign is that the connection keeps bringing you back to questions you cannot ignore. Why do I feel so seen by them? Why do they affect me this deeply? Why do I want to run when all I have wanted is closeness? These questions are not random. Deep connections often act like mirrors. They reflect not only your desires, but also your defenses. In everyday life, this can look simple. A friend who notices your sadness before you speak. A partner who does not fix your pain, but stays present inside it. A family member who finally hears the hurt beneath your anger. Someone who makes you feel safe enough to stop performing strength all the time. These moments may seem small, but they are not small to a heart that has spent years surviving through armor. A deep spiritual connection is not proven by intensity alone. It is revealed by what the connection uncovers in your daily reactions, your relational habits, and your repeated emotional loops. The real sign is not just that you feel strongly. It is that this bond keeps showing you where you are protecting yourself from the very love you say you want. The deepest sign of a spiritual connection is not that it gives you certainty about the other person. It is that it slowly gives you a deeper truth about yourself. After all the longing, confusion, hope, fear, and emotional intensity, the real gift of a profound connection is transformation. It changes the way you see love, the way you see pain, and most importantly, the way you see your own worth. Many people enter meaningful connections hoping to finally be chosen in a way that erases their insecurity. But deep healing does not happen when another person rescues you from your wounds. It happens when a connection brings those wounds into the light, and for the first time, you stop abandoning yourself in response. You stop begging for crumbs. You stop shrinking to stay lovable. You stop treating your sensitivity like a flaw. You begin to understand that needing care does not make you weak, and feeling deeply does not make you too much. That is why one of the final signs of a deep spiritual bond is this: it teaches you to become emotionally honest. Not just with them, but with yourself. You begin saying what you actually feel. You begin noticing when your silence is self-protection, when your overthinking is fear, when your people-pleasing is grief in disguise. You start recognizing that many of your patterns were not personality traits at all. They were survival strategies. And survival strategies are not the same as your true self. A real soul-level connection often teaches you that love is not supposed to feel like constant auditioning. It is not meant to feel like performing perfection, monitoring every word, or chasing validation until you are exhausted. Real connection may challenge you, but it does not require self-erasure. It may trigger your wounds, but it also invites your healing. It does not ask you to become smaller so that someone else can stay comfortable. Sometimes the connection lasts. Sometimes it does not. But that does not decide whether it was meaningful. Some people arrive in your life not to stay forever, but to awaken the part of you that was asleep. To show you how deeply you have been starving for emotional safety. To reveal the difference between intensity and intimacy. To teach you that being understood can feel unfamiliar when you have spent years being misunderstood. And maybe that is the real reason such connections feel spiritual. Not because they are always perfect. Not because they always become romantic. But because they pull you closer to the truth. They break the illusion that love must be earned through suffering. They remind you that healing is not becoming harder. It is becoming more honest. So if someone's presence has made you confront your fears, soften your defenses, and remember parts of yourself you thought were lost, pay attention. Not every deep connection is meant to keep you. But some are meant to return you to yourself. And sometimes, that is the holiest kind of love there is.